Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
He thought their life was perfect. Jalen, a talented architect, and Kelly, the warm-hearted school teacher, raising their bright-eyed daughter in a picturesque home. But cracks began to show when Chloe's innocent drawings revealed Mommy hugging Mr. Todd. Secret grown-up stuff. The whispers of perfume compliments and late-night texts grew louder. Then came the damning message, "Miss you." Counting down until we can be alone. Jalen's world shattered as he uncovered lies entwined with his wife's laughter and a colleague's stolen glances. Betrayal had crept into his family, but how far would he go to expose the truth? It was an early spring morning in the scenic suburbs just outside of Boston. Jalen pressed the button on the automatic coffee machine in the spacious kitchen of his craftsman-style home, his mind drifting as the machine whirred and produced a steady flow of steaming, dark liquid. An architect by trade, one known for sleek designs and inventive solutions, he was typically a creature of habit. Waking at precisely 6 each day, tidying up any stray cups from the evening before, and preparing for a new day's challenges at his design firm. His wife, Kelly, was an elementary school teacher. She specialized in the intersection of art and early childhood education, an area that allowed her free rein to craft all sorts of creative, hands-on lessons for her second-grade class. Kelly had always radiated warmth around children. She loved guiding them through finger painting, macaroni art, and silly skits. That was precisely what attracted Jalen to her in the first place. Her unstoppable enthusiasm, her big heart, and her desire to bring out the best in the young, impressionable minds she nurtured. They had been married for almost 8 years, and while their union was not without its bumps, Jalen generally considered it a happy and stable marriage. They also had a 6-year-old daughter named Chloe. With curly hair and an unshakable curiosity, Chloe was growing at lightning speed. Jalen adored her bright eyes and unstoppable giggles whenever they played with blocks or read bedtime stories. Kelly, meanwhile, was equally devoted, spending countless hours introducing Chloe to the joy of painting, coloring, and pretend teacher games. On this day, however, everything seemed a bit off from Jalen's perspective. Kelly had left earlier than usual. Typically, she might linger over breakfast with Chloe and him, discussing the upcoming day's plans. But that morning, Kelly had said there was some urgent meeting at the school, something about standard curriculum updates. She had breezed out the door while Jalen was still in the shower. He found it odd, but not enough to ring any alarm bells. 7:10 a.m. Chloe shuffled into the kitchen, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Jalen handed her a small plate of scrambled eggs and toast. She sat down at the kitchen island, swinging her legs, and began munching away happily. "Mommy left early," she said between bites. "Yeah, sweet pea," Jalen replied, fiddling with the sugar bowl, adding a teaspoon to his coffee. "She said there was an important meeting at the school." "Mommy said she was meeting Mr. Todd before class," Chloe continued. "They have to do big teacher stuff." Mr. Todd was a name Jalen only vaguely recognized. He was some new teacher or staff member at Kelly's school. Kelly had mentioned him once or twice. "He's organized. He's good at technology. He might be taking over some extracurriculars." Jalen had no strong opinions about him. Maybe he was one of the younger hires at the school who knew. "Mr. Todd, right?" Jalen said, sipping his coffee. "He's probably helping Mommy with something important." Chloe shrugged her shoulders. "Mommy said Mr. Todd likes her new perfume," she giggled. "She said I shouldn't talk about perfume, though. Secret grown-up stuff." Jalen paused. Something about that remark made him a little uneasy, yet he pushed the worry aside. Kids often repeated random tidbits. Maybe Kelly had joked about a new perfume in front of Chloe, telling her not to spill the beans. Teachers sometimes used odd motivational tactics or inside jokes. Still, it stuck out in the back of his mind as he drove Chloe to her bus stop, waved goodbye, then made his way to his architecture firm. That evening, Jalen came home around 6, a little earlier than usual. He wanted to cook something special for Kelly and Chloe pasta with homemade sauce. He put on some light music and got to work chopping onions, tomatoes, and fresh basil. 6:30 p.m. Chloe dashed into the house, accompanied by their neighbor's older daughter, Lexi, who often dropped Chloe off after a brief playdate or an after-school dance class. The two parted ways, and Lexi headed back to her own house. Chloe greeted Jalen with a wide grin. "Daddy, guess what? I got a gold star in class for painting a super sparkly rainbow unicorn." "That's awesome, sweet pea," Jalen said, hugging her. "Mommy home yet?" Chloe shook her head. "Mommy's still at school. She said she had teacher lounge stuff. But she told me Mr. Todd would drop her off, so she doesn't need the car. I came back with Lexi." Jalen felt a small flicker of confusion. Kelly had left in their only family car this morning. So if Mr. Todd was dropping her off, that meant Kelly and Todd had driven somewhere else during the day, maybe to pick up supplies or attend a teacher's workshop in another district. It wasn't cause for alarm, but it was unusual for Kelly not to mention it. 7:15 p.m. Kelly finally walked through the door, slightly out of breath, wearing a faintly sheepish smile. She greeted Chloe with a quick hug, then went to wash up. At dinner, Jalen couldn't help noticing Kelly's phone kept lighting up with messages someone named M. Todd on the screen. Kelly placed it face down. He asked about her day, and she offered a vague explanation. Staff meeting, plus an off-site conference about new reading curricula. She specifically mentioned that Mr. Todd was the teacher rep for certain committee tasks, so they had to coordinate. Jalen tried to push away the creeping sense of disquiet, but it lingered. He decided maybe it was just his imagination. After all, his line of work was cyclical. Some months he was buried under building proposals. Other months he found himself with more free time. Perhaps he was simply noticing Kelly's busyness more acutely now that his own schedule had lightened. The night ended without incident, other than Jalen noticing Kelly's subdued mood. She watched TV with Chloe, but seemed lost in her own thoughts. When bedtime rolled around, Jalen found himself reading a story to Chloe, some whimsical tale about a family of dragons, while Kelly retreated to the bedroom to answer a few last-minute emails. Once again, he glanced over and saw the message icon on her phone pop up with M. Todd, but Kelly quickly swiped it away. The next morning, a mild tension lingered in the air. Kelly kissed Jalen goodbye on the cheek, fussed over Chloe's outfit, then hurried out. Jalen, left with the sense that something was off, tried to start his day normally, burying himself in floor plans and concept sketches for a new luxury apartment building project. Yet the nagging feeling wouldn't leave him alone. It wasn't until the following week that something truly tangible presented itself: Chloe's artwork. That day, Chloe bounded off the school bus clutching a large sheet of craft paper. She rushed into the house, and while Jalen was still working on his laptop in the living room, she spread the paper out on the coffee table. "Daddy, do you want to see my new drawing?" she asked, beaming with pride. "I'd love to," Jalen said, saving his work and swiveling to focus on her. Chloe's picture was a childlike scene of what looked like a teacher's lounge. A table, a couple of chairs, a vending machine. 2 stick figures stood in the middle, arms around each other. Over one figure's head was the label Mommy, and over the other figure's head was Mr. Todd. In bright purple crayon, Chloe had added a heart shape around them. Jalen's breath caught. The image was clear enough that even a child's crude representation hammered home a possible reality. In the corner of the page, smaller text read, "Mommy likes hugging him a lot." The child had scribbled it, presumably at the teacher's prompting to label items in the drawing. But maybe Kelly had left the room, and Chloe took it upon herself to add that caption. "Chloe, that's an interesting drawing," Jalen managed to say, forcing a neutral smile. "So this is the teacher's lounge at your school?" "Yeah, I had free time after we practiced writing. Mommy let me draw anything I wanted, so I drew her and Mr. Todd hugging. He's super nice. They always have private talks. Mommy says it's grown-up stuff, so sometimes I wait in the hallway." She said it so innocently, so matter-of-factly, that Jalen's chest tightened. This was not just a random mention of perfume or a passing reference to teacher lounge stuff. This was an actual depiction of Kelly physically affectionate with a colleague, enough for their child to notice and interpret it as normal. Jalen placed the drawing aside, told Chloe it was very colorful, and tried to keep his voice even as he congratulated her on her imaginative artistry. But a swirl of conflicting emotions churned inside him. Could this be just a misunderstanding? Perhaps Kelly had offered Mr. Todd a friendly hug or pat on the back, yet Chloe's repeated mentions of them being alone, with Mommy likes hugging him a lot, painted a more disturbing scenario. That night, Jalen showed Kelly the drawing. He attempted to do it casually, but his underlying tension was obvious. Kelly's reaction was immediate. She laughed a little too loudly, calling it just a silly kid's drawing, and brushed aside Jalen's concerns. She insisted Mr. Todd was a colleague, that second graders frequently misinterpret or embellish adult interactions. Then she stowed the picture in a kitchen drawer with a dismissive wave. "Chloe draws all sorts of random stuff. Don't read too much into it." Jalen nodded, trying to appear mollified. But as Kelly walked away, he pulled the drawing out of the drawer and quietly slid it into a folder in his office. Something told him it might be important. From that day forward, Jalen's suspicions grew, and the foundation of trust he had in Kelly began to crack. He started paying extra attention to Kelly's schedule, her phone usage, her mentions of Mr. Todd. Little by little, the puzzle pieces slid into place. One Wednesday morning, while preparing architectural sketches at home, he had chosen to skip the office that day to concentrate without distraction, Jalen noticed Kelly left her phone charging on the nightstand. She ran out the door in a hurry, presumably forgetting it. This was his chance to see if there were any messages that might confirm or deny the swirl of doubts in his mind. He lingered near the phone, a knot in his stomach. He didn't like the idea of invading her privacy, but the strain of not knowing what was happening weighed heavily. Taking a deep breath, he tapped the screen. A passcode lock glared back at him. He didn't know the passcode, as Kelly had apparently changed it weeks ago. Another small betrayal of trust. She used to share everything with him, including phone passcodes. Now, that door was shut. He considered possible combinations, birthdays, anniversaries. None worked. The phone locked for a minute after too many attempts. Frustrated, he set it back down. He felt guilty for even trying. Yet the guilt was overshadowed by heartbreak. He needed proof to confront her. In subsequent days, Jalen found subtle ways to glean more intel. He began dropping by the school unannounced just to say hi or to pick up Chloe if she had a dentist appointment. On these visits, he'd see Kelly in the hallway, chat briefly, and keep an eye out for this mysterious Mr. Todd. A few times, he glimpsed a man in his early 30s with neatly trimmed hair and a warm smile, talking or laughing with Kelly in corners of the hallway. When Jalen approached, Mr. Todd politely excused himself and disappeared, leaving Jalen with an odd sense of being an intruder. One afternoon, Jalen spotted Mr. Todd and Kelly leaving the building side by side, climbing into a single car. "We're just going out for new art supplies," Kelly later explained. The rummage in the trunk revealed no sign of any supplies. Another red flag. Chloe remained a fount of accidental revelations. She chirped about how Mr. Todd sometimes drove Mommy home or how they ate lunch together in the lounge. During bedtime stories, she'd casually mention that Mr. Todd says Mommy is so creative, or they whisper a lot about grown-up jokes. Kids are brutally honest, and each snippet hammered at Jalen's composure. But the moment that truly sealed the deal came when Chloe, excited as always about her drawings, announced she had a new picture for Parents' Show and Tell Night. This time, it featured Kelly holding Mr. Todd's hand under a speech bubble. "I like you more than Mr. J." The Mr. J presumably referred to Jalen Chloe's father. The heartbreak that spiked in Jalen's chest was indescribable. The child had overheard something so pointed and repeated it innocently in her artwork. Kelly, his own wife, proclaiming she liked Mr. Todd more than him? It was time for action. Jalen realized his daughter's recollections weren't simple illusions or confusions. There was a deeper emotional and physical closeness between Kelly and Todd. He decided to systematically unearth the truth. Around this time, Jalen received a call from Max, an old college friend who happened to have a child in the same school district. Max had heard rumors from other teachers about Kelly spending extra time with Mr. Todd, apparently. Teachers gossiped about how close they seemed after hours. Max asked if everything was okay. Jalen feigned ignorance, but that call confirmed the rumor mill was churning among the staff. But the surprising part, Max offered help. He had connections to the school principal, Louisa, who was big on maintaining professional boundaries. Max hinted that if Jalen needed more official eyes on the situation, he could discreetly mention it to Louisa. This was the first moment Jalen realized he had an unexpected ally. He thanked Max, but held off on making any formal complaint. He wasn't ready to blow the situation wide open yet. Another major moment that clarified Jalen's darkest suspicions came when Kelly finally left her phone unlocked in the living room by accident. It was late, around 10:30 p.m., and she had gone to shower. The phone lit up with a message from a contact labeled as ST. Jalen carefully picked up the phone. Sure enough, the message preview read, "Miss you, counting down until we can be alone." It was exactly what he dreaded. The heartbreak was immediate. Tapping on the phone, he discovered no passcode this time. Maybe Kelly had grown complacent. He scrolled further. S.T. "Today was amazing. Loved your outfit. Wish we didn't have to hide like this. Kelly." "I know. Let's find another reason to meet soon. If Jalen asks, I'll say, it's for the literacy project." His hands shook as he read more lines about quick kisses stolen in the teacher's lounge, about planning to find more time alone. The text thread spelled out emotional and physical intimacy that left him numb. Right there in black and white was confirmation that Kelly was not just innocently hugging a colleague, she was actively lying, orchestrating cover stories, complaining about Jalen's presence. Jalen's mind raced. Now that I have this evidence, what do I do? Immediately, confronting Kelly in anger could cause chaos. But a bigger part of him wanted to protect Chloe from any messy confrontation. Also, he realized this might be bigger than a personal betrayal. A teacher having an affair with a colleague in plain sight could lead to professional consequences. He resolved to be strategic. This was no longer about suspicion. It was about planning a thorough response. That night, after Kelly fell asleep, Jalen quietly forwarded the incriminating text messages to his own email. Then he deleted the sent messages logs so Kelly wouldn't notice. He encrypted the text screenshots into a private folder on his laptop, labeled innocuously under Project Redwood, some random building concept. He might need to present these messages to the school's administration if it came down to that. He was about to sign out of Kelly's phone when a new message arrived. ST. "Should we worry about Chloe's drawings? The kids might talk. Let's be careful." That line almost made Jalen laugh bitterly, painfully. Mr. Todd, or Samson Todd, was worried about being outed by a child's artwork. The irony was thick. These two adults, so careless about their secret, had been half exposed by a 6-year-old's crayons and scribbles. It was equal parts tragic and comedic. Jalen's final step that night was to make a personal vow. He wouldn't let his heartbreak overshadow his need to do what was best for his daughter. He'd gather further proof, and when the time came, he'd ensure the entire fiasco was exposed in a setting that would force accountability. If Kelly insisted on lying, he'd take matters into a bigger arena like a parent-teacher conference, or even the principal's office. Let them see the evidence. Let them realize the hypocrisy. He closed the phone, placed it back exactly as he'd found it, and retreated to the guest room, unable to share a bed with Kelly in that moment. Though physically exhausted, his mind stayed wide awake, weaving possible scenarios of confrontation and repercussions. The first storm clouds of retribution brewed in his thoughts. With the affair fully confirmed by texts, Jalen felt an odd calm settle over him. He had clarity. Kelly was lying, having an affair with her colleague Samson Todd, and even their daughter Chloe had inadvertently become part of the cover-up. The next question was how to address it without letting raw anger compromise what needed to be done. The school was hosting an upcoming parent-teacher open house on a Thursday evening. Teachers would display student projects, parents could tour classrooms, and short one-on-one conferences might happen if needed. Jalen realized this event could be a strategic moment to reveal the evidence, or at least set the stage for confrontation. He recalled Max's suggestion to involve the principal, Louisa. Maybe he could discreetly request a private meeting with Louisa right before or after the open house. Then he could present the evidence in a calm, official setting, ensuring there was a chain of accountability. If Kelly and Samson Todd had used school resources or time slots for their affair, the administration would be forced to respond. But there was a bigger plan forming in Jalen's mind, something that might corner Kelly and Samson simultaneously, protecting Chloe from witnessing a direct argument at home. The idea was to schedule a parent-teacher conference with Kelly ironic, given she was his wife and involved the principal, under the pretext of concern about Chloe's social development. Then, once they were all in the same room, Jalen could present Chloe's artworks, the suspicious text messages, and blow the lid off the affair. It was bold, borderline theatrical. Yet, Jalen felt it was a strangely fitting solution. They used the teacher's lounge as a hidden space for their trysts, let that very environment be the place of their downfall. Before finalizing his approach, Jalen decided to test the waters. He reached out to the principal, Louisa, requesting a meeting about some troubling content in Chloe's drawings. He kept his tone neutral and professional, not spilling details over email. Louisa responded politely, scheduling a slot right before the open house event. Simultaneously, Jalen quietly reached out to the school district's guidelines about teacher conduct. He read about fraternization policies, codes of ethics, how relationships between staff members could be allowed if not interfering with duties, but sneaking around, using school property like the teacher's lounge for personal romantic liaisons, definitely violated policy. If Kelly and Samson Todd had been ignoring official boundaries, that was a serious professional risk. That weekend, as if fate insisted on fueling Jalen's plan, Chloe created another piece of revealing artwork during an afternoon coloring session. This time, the scene depicted a cartoonish version of the teacher's lounge again, with speech bubbles. Mommy's special friend, Mr. Todd. They talk about secrets. When Jalen asked about it, Chloe explained that Mommy said hush about Mr. Todd because grown-ups might not understand. The child sounded confused, as though she had been told something taboo. Jalen's heartbreak deepened. He resolved to keep the new drawing, too, adding it to his growing file of evidence. That night, Jalen found it impossible to hide his strained feelings. Over dinner, Kelly noticed his frosty demeanor and asked if he was upset about work. Jalen offered vague excuses. Kelly retreated to watching TV with Chloe, while occasionally texting on her phone. The emotional distance was palpable. Later, Jalen confronted her lightly. "You've been so close with that Todd guy, right? The one Chloe always talks about. Are you sure that's just professional?" Kelly stiffened, her eyes flickering with caution. "He's just a coworker, Jalen. Why would you even ask that?" "Because Chloe's drawings. She thinks you're hugging him a lot at school." Kelly forced a laugh, clearly on edge. "Kids have wild imaginations. You need to stop worrying about this nonsense." Jalen pretended to drop the subject, but inside he fumed. She was so brazenly dismissive, continuing to gaslight him. The plan for the conference had to go forward. Enough was enough. 2 days before the open house, Jalen received a cryptic phone call from an unknown number. On the other end was Ava, a teacher's aide from Kelly's school, who recognized Jalen from a prior function. She nervously confessed that she'd seen Kelly and Mr. Todd in compromising positions in empty classrooms after hours. She felt guilty about not reporting it, but the staff grapevine had run wild with rumors. She warned that if Jalen intended to bring it to the principal's attention, he'd have plenty of quiet supporters among staff who disliked the unprofessional behavior. Jalen thanked Ava, his conviction solidifying. The day of the open house loomed. Jalen spent the preceding days meticulously organizing his evidence. 1. Chloe's drawings, 3 in total now, each depicting affectionate scenes between Kelly and Mr. Todd. 2. Text message screenshots stolen from Kelly's phone, confirming romantic language, references to secret meetups, and instructions to keep Jalen in the dark. 3. A short voice memo left on Kelly's phone from Mr. Todd, talking about missing her. Jalen had discovered it while rummaging her phone for messages. 4. Possible statements from staff like Ava or from the rumor mill, if needed, as secondary proof. Simultaneously, Jalen arranged with Principal Louisa for a parent-teacher check-in, specifically regarding Chloe's artwork and social behavior. Jalen insisted they hold the meeting in the presence of the principal to get official guidance. Louisa was puzzled, but agreed, scheduling it right before the general open house so that Kelly would be there, along with Mr. Todd if he was relevant to the conversation. Kelly, ironically, had no suspicion that this parent-teacher meeting was anything but standard. She was too preoccupied with her own guilt-laden texting. She believed Jalen was just concerned about Chloe's drawings, so she prepared to spin a story about how imaginative kids can be. On the morning of the conference, Jalen discovered from Louisa that Mr. Todd had also been invited to the meeting, under the notion that he might provide insight since the drawings specifically featured him. Initially, Jalen had only planned to confront Kelly, but having Todd present was an even better chance to corner them both. Kelly, ironically, was the one who recommended, "Let's have Todd step in to clarify that nothing improper is going on." She had no idea how thoroughly Jalen intended to prove otherwise. 4:30 p.m., a few hours before the open house began, Principal Louisa arranged a small table in the staff conference room. Kelly arrived, followed by Todd. Both wore anxious, yet polite expressions. Jalen arrived last, carrying a slim manila folder with all his evidence. Chloe was at a babysitter's for the evening, so she wouldn't witness the forthcoming drama. Louisa smiled professionally. "All right, Jalen, you requested a meeting regarding Chloe's recent drawings. Kelly and Mr. Todd, you both are her teachers in some capacity. Let's see if we can address any concerns." Kelly nodded, adopting a neutral, teacherly tone. "Yes, of course. Chloe's been quite imaginative. I'm sure we can clarify any misunderstandings." Mr. Todd, or Samson Todd, forced a polite grin. "I'm here to help too, if needed." Jalen took a seat, heart pounding. "This is it," he began calmly. "Thank you all for gathering. I appreciate the time. I've been troubled by Chloe's artwork for a while now. She's drawn multiple pictures of her mother, Kelly, and Mr. Todd in intimate situations. Hugs in the teacher's lounge, references to them liking each other a lot. I'm worried it's creating confusion for Chloe." Louisa raised an eyebrow. "That is indeed concerning. Normally, second-grade artwork might show teachers, but intimate hugging is beyond typical. Kelly, can you shed light on that?" Kelly cleared her throat, her cheeks reddening. "Chloe's just a curious child. She may have seen me giving Mr. Todd a supportive hug like a colleague gesture, after a stressful day. Kids can exaggerate, right, Todd?" Mr. Todd nodded quickly. "Exactly. We have an upbeat environment, but never anything improper." Jalen kept his eyes on them, then slid the first drawing across the table. Chloe had scrawled, "Mommy and Mr. Todd hugging, secret grown-up time." Louisa's eyes flickered with concern. Jalen proceeded to show the second and third drawings. On one, the text about, "Mommy says she likes Mr. Todd more than Mr. J," loomed large. Kelly's face paled. "Chloe is making that up. I never said that. I swear." Louisa glanced at Todd. "Is there any reason Chloe would interpret this so vividly?" He forced a laugh. "No reason at all. I think she's mixing up things, Principal Louisa." Jalen drew a slow breath. "All right. Perhaps this is all a misunderstanding. But I do have more. If it's okay, I'd like to share certain communications I uncovered purely because they mention my daughter and references to hush-hush interactions." Kelly shot him a warning glare. "Jalen, let's not blow this out of proportion. We can talk about it at home." Louisa raised a hand. "No, Kelly. Let's let him speak. If Mr. Johnson has concerns about his child's environment, we should hear him out." Jalen pulled out a few printouts of text messages between Kelly and Todd, carefully blocking out explicit lines but leaving the damning references. "Should we worry about Chloe's drawings? The kids might talk. Let's be careful. I love these quick kisses in the lounge. But let's keep an eye out for Jalen." Louisa's eyes widened. Kelly's face turned sheet white. Todd swallowed hard, flicking his gaze at Kelly. Kelly began to stammer. "That must be doctored, Jalen. Where did you get these?" Mr. Todd tried to laugh it off. "This is definitely some trick. I never wrote those. We must have an imposter." But Jalen had more. Screenshots from Kelly's phone, with timestamps matching Mr. Todd's messages, referencing moments they were both physically away from the classroom. He also had a short voice memo from Todd referencing, "Missing your perfume, babe." He tapped the play button. The room fell silent except for Todd's recorded voice. Louisa's jaw clenched. "That's enough," Louisa finally said, her tone icy. "It appears we have evidence of a personal relationship beyond professional boundaries, one that might have taken place in the teacher's lounge, which is obviously against district policy for personal liaisons." Kelly attempted a final defense. This is being twisted. We never did anything truly inappropriate on campus. Just maybe some hugging. The phone messages could be jokes taken out of context." Her voice shook. Louisa turned to Todd, who had broken into a cold sweat. "Mr. Todd, do you deny that these messages or voice memos could be from you?" He stammered. I must have texted some friendly remarks. It's not as it sounds. Kelly, Mrs. Johnson and I were just supporting each other. Nothing more." The tension was suffocating. Jalen felt a mix of heartbreak, anger, and grim satisfaction. They still tried to lie, but the principal clearly saw the bigger picture now. Louisa straightened her shoulders. "Kelly, Mr. Todd, at best, these messages demonstrate questionable conduct. At worst, they confirm you two have engaged in an inappropriate relationship on school grounds. We can't ignore the effect on Chloe either. This is serious. We'll have to open a disciplinary review. For the sake of clarity, I also have to inform the district's HR department. Kelly looked like she might faint. Todd pressed his lips together, panic evident in his eyes. Jalen took a measured breath. I'm sorry it came to this, but as a father, seeing my daughter produce drawings about her mother hugging another teacher intimately and then discovering these messages, I had to step in. Louisa nodded, her expression grim. I understand. Jalen, we appreciate you bringing this to our attention. We'll proceed with the proper procedures. You can expect the district to reach out and we'll keep you informed. Kelly tried to speak, tears brimming. Jalen, let's talk privately, please. This is humiliating. You ambushed me in front of my boss. He stood, not meeting her gaze. We'll talk, but not now. My daughter's well-being is my priority. With that, Jalen pivoted, leaving the stunned pair behind as Louisa ended the meeting. The open house was set to begin soon, but it was clear Kelly and Todd had bigger problems to deal with than greeting parents about second-grade reading logs. After the explosive parent-teacher meeting, chaos ensued within the school's administrative circles. Rumors spread like wildfire about Kelly and Todd being confronted by a parent armed with text messages and children's drawings. Louisa had quickly escalated the issue to the school district's HR department, which launched a formal disciplinary review. The possibility of termination loomed over both Kelly and Todd, as having an affair might not be illegal in itself, but conducting said affair in a teacher's lounge and letting it impact a child's emotional state was frowned upon. That evening, Jalen returned home earlier than usual, expecting Kelly to show up at some point in tears or fury. Chloe was with a babysitter at a neighbor's house, shielded from the immediate drama. When Kelly finally walked in around 9 p.m., she looked disheveled and emotionally drained. She threw her purse on the couch and glared at Jalen, her voice trembling with anger and sorrow. You humiliated me, she hissed, ambushing me in front of Louisa, printing out private texts you had no right. Jalen rose from his seat, equally on edge. I had every right. You lied to me, you disrespected our marriage, and you roped our daughter into your secret. If you wanted privacy, you shouldn't have made the teacher's lounge your personal hideaway. She scoffed, tears brimming. It's not like that. Todd and I, the lines got blurred. I never intended to hurt you. We were just connected. He understood me in ways you stopped trying to. She paused, choking on her own words. But that doesn't justify a public takedown. Jalen's voice hardened. This wasn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It was about exposing the truth before Chloe got more confused. You're her mother, yet you dragged her into your illusions. Did you think her drawings would just vanish? Kelly broke down, slumping onto a chair, hands covering her face. For a moment, Jalen felt a pang of sympathy. This was the woman he once adored. But the wave of betrayal overshadowed that sympathy. They sat in tense silence. Eventually, Kelly muttered, I've probably lost my job. The union might protect me, but Todd and I will be under scrutiny. God, how do we tell Chloe? Jalen exhaled. He had no easy answers. We tell her you made a mistake, that you and Mr. Todd crossed boundaries. She deserves honesty or as much as a 6-year-old can handle. We'll figure out custody or living arrangements if this leads to separation. Her eyes flicked up, wide with alarm. Separation? You'd consider that? What do you expect, Kelly? You betrayed me. Maybe you can salvage your career, but our marriage... He shook his head. We'll see. In the next hour, they debated in hushed, anguished tones, occasionally raising voices. Ultimately, Kelly asked Jalen to give her time, maybe counseling, maybe something to fix the damage. He didn't commit to anything, stating only that he needed space and that her first priority should be clarifying the situation at school for Chloe's sake. The next day, Kelly was summoned to a meeting with the district HR representative and principal, Louisa. Todd was present as well, though in a separate meeting at first. They faced allegations of unprofessional conduct on school property, supported by the textual evidence Jalen had provided. The district couldn't forcibly terminate them just for an affair, consenting adults, but the alleged presence of affectionate acts in the teacher's lounge was a serious breach. Moreover, if Chloe's well-being was negatively impacted, the district had a liability concern. The result? Kelly and Todd were placed on administrative leave pending further investigation. They wouldn't be allowed to teach or be on campus except for official disciplinary hearings. At best, they might keep their jobs if they proved the relationship never compromised their responsibilities or used school resources. At worst, they could be dismissed or suspended for cause. Kelly returned home, shattered. She told Jalen the news, tears streaming down her face. "Are you happy now?" she said bitterly. "You've wrecked my career." He swallowed hard. "You did that yourself by crossing the line. I only revealed the truth." Days passed in a tense stalemate. Jalen and Kelly coexisted under one roof with minimal conversation, trying not to let Chloe see the fractures. Meanwhile, Todd vanished from their immediate sphere. He was presumably trying to salvage his own situation. Then, unexpectedly, Todd texted Jalen's phone from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Urgent." Jalen almost ignored it. But curiosity won out, so he arranged to meet Todd in a neutral place, a small coffee shop far from the school. At that meeting, Todd arrived, looking haggard. He confessed that their relationship started innocently discussing teaching techniques, bonding over tough school days, then escalated into flirtation and stolen kisses. He insisted he never wanted to ruin Kelly's family, but he felt Kelly portrayed her marriage as loveless, so he believed she was on the brink of separation anyway. Now he realized Kelly had downplayed just how stable or salvageable her marriage might have been. Todd asked if Jalen would consider retracting some evidence or helping him salvage his job. Jalen stared him down, seething at the gall of such a request. Ultimately, Jalen refused. He told Todd to face the consequences. The only reason for Todd's confession seemed to be self-preservation, not genuine remorse. But Todd did drop a bomb. He insinuated that Kelly had cheated on Jalen once before, years ago, with a different colleague. Jalen's heart lurched. This might have been just Todd's attempt at deflection, but the possibility rattled Jalen. When Jalen confronted Kelly that evening about Todd's claim, she tearfully denied any past affairs. "He's lying to save himself," she argued. Jalen wasn't sure whom to believe. The seeds of deeper mistrust planted themselves in his mind. While the disciplinary process in the school district churned on, the immediate question at home was how to present a stable front to Chloe. The last thing Jalen wanted was for his daughter's sense of security to collapse. Kelly, equally worried about traumatizing Chloe, suggested they keep things as normal as possible until the investigation concluded. For Chloe's sake, Jalen and Kelly agreed on a semblance of peace. They refrained from open arguments when Chloe was around. Mornings included the typical family routine of breakfast, dropping Chloe off at the bus, and a quick "bye, honey," that felt forced but at least spared Chloe from tension. Even so, the atmosphere felt tenuous, like a bomb waiting to go off. Occasionally, Chloe would ask, "Why isn't Mr. Todd at school anymore?" Or, "Mommy, are you on vacation if you're staying home?" Kelly tried to answer vaguely. "Mr. Todd and I are on a break, sweetie. We'll see what the principal says." The child looked perplexed, but accepted it at face value. Principal Louisa, caught between duty and empathy, arranged a short check-in call with Jalen and Kelly. She indicated the district's investigation would likely last a few more weeks. If any new evidence came to light, it could further damage Kelly and Todd's standing. Meanwhile, Kelly was expected to remain off campus. Another teacher had taken over Kelly's class, which upset her deeply since she loved teaching. Louisa also reminded them that any attempt to remove Chloe from the school or change classes might be an overreaction, but they should keep an eye on her emotional well-being. Jalen appreciated Louisa's calm approach. The principal wanted to ensure the child's best interests remained at the forefront. One weekend, Jalen's sister, Lexi, distinct from the neighbor Lexi, coincidentally same name, so we'll call the sister Lexi M for clarity, invited the family to a barbecue at her home. She had heard rumors of trouble, but didn't know the full extent. They brought Chloe, hoping some normal social interaction might help. Kelly forced a smile around extended family, but behind the scenes, she was sullen. During the barbecue, Lexi M took Jalen aside. "Is everything okay, big bro? You seem tense." He hesitated, but gave a sanitized version. "Kelly's going through some issues at her job. Chloe's a bit confused." Lexi M nodded sympathetically. "If you need any help, or if you want me to watch Chloe for a while, just ask." Kelly overheard them and bristled. Later that day, she argued with Jalen in the car, accusing him of revealing personal matters to your sister. The tension soared again, making the drive home a silent freeze. Even mild attempts at normalcy felt overshadowed by the affair's aftershocks. Behind the scenes, Jalen wrestled with a major question. Should I push for a formal separation or hold out to see if counseling can salvage anything? He wasn't sure if he could ever trust Kelly again. The heartbreak kept him up at night, replaying those text messages, those drawings, that smug expression on Todd's face. Yet a small part of him mourned the love he once had for Kelly. They had built a life together, had a child. Did that history deserve a second chance? He scheduled a consultation with a local therapist who specialized in marriage counseling just to see if it was feasible. The therapist, Ava M., not to be confused with teacher's aide Ava coincidental name overlap, explained that infidelity can be addressed through honest communication, but both parties must commit wholeheartedly. Jalen left the session unconvinced Kelly had that commitment. She seemed more frantic about losing her job than about mending their marriage. Weeks passed. The administrative leave dragged on. Todd attempted to text Kelly a few times. Jalen caught glimpses on her phone, but Kelly insisted she was telling him to back off. She said their relationship was over. Jalen refused to read deeper into it. She'd lied before. Meanwhile, the school district was close to concluding its investigation. Rumors suggested that both Kelly and Todd might face official disciplinary measures. Whether or not it would be termination or a formal reprimand was unclear. The tension gave Jalen no solace. He realized a final confrontation was necessary, something that would force Kelly to fully admit the affair, or else remain in denial forever. But Jalen had one more card to play: the possibility of a family meeting with the district's involvement. He imagined a scenario where, if Kelly tried to downplay her wrongdoing in front of the HR panel, he could present the full text logs, time-stamped photos, and Chloe's updated drawings that he'd collected. That might not only confirm her misconduct, but also push her to face the personal betrayal aspect. One late night, as Jalen was about to fall asleep, Kelly came into the bedroom with red-rimmed eyes. She sat on the edge of the bed, quiet, for a long moment. Then she spoke softly. "Jalen, I know I messed up. I hurt you. I abused your trust. I let my attraction to Todd overshadow my responsibilities as a wife and a mother. You had every right to do what you did, calling me out in front of Louisa. I can't take it back, but I'm sorry." Her voice trembled with genuine remorse, or so it seemed. Jalen remained still, heart conflicted. "Why did you do it, Kelly?" Tears welled up. "I felt neglected or maybe bored. Teaching got stressful and Todd was there always praising me. I just needed something. But I never meant to break us." Jalen sighed, tears pricking his own eyes. "It's too late for that, Kelly. The damage is done," she sobbed lightly. "I'm not even sure if I want to keep teaching after this. The shame is overwhelming. But if there's any chance you can forgive me, maybe we can find a counselor or something." He didn't respond. Instead, he turned off the bedside lamp. The room sank into darkness. Kelly lingered a moment, then retreated, leaving Jalen alone with his swirling thoughts. The pale light of an early Saturday morning filtered through the living room blinds. Jalen, bleary-eyed after another restless night, sipped a half-cold cup of coffee. He could hear Kelly upstairs, rummaging in the closet, perhaps looking for an outfit, or just pacing in agitation. The house felt heavy with tension. One false word, and an argument might erupt. Chloe, their 6-year-old daughter, was at a sleepover with a friend, giving Jalen and Kelly a rare chance to talk freely. But the tension was too thick for any casual conversation. They'd arrived at a strange point of suspended conflict, neither quite reconciling nor outright separating, both struggling to figure out the next step. On Monday, the school district would host a formal disciplinary hearing to address the allegations against Kelly and her colleague, Samson Todd. Both had been on administrative leave pending the investigation. Based on the evidence, Jalen had provided Chloe's drawings, text messages, and personal statements. There was no doubt they'd be grilled. The possibility of termination loomed. Kelly dreaded this hearing. She'd spent days calling union representatives, trying to formulate a defense. "There was no actual intercourse on school grounds," she repeated to any sympathetic ear. "We just had occasional kisses and emotional closeness, but no major rule broken." She also prepared to push the narrative that Jalen had invaded her privacy, potentially obtaining messages in an unethical manner. If the panel frowned on that, maybe her discipline would be lighter. Jalen doubted such arguments would absolve her. The district's policy was clear. Any staff affair that risked public scandal, especially one involving a teacher's own child noticing and drawing pictures, was treated seriously. Saturday evening, as tension hovered, Kelly approached Jalen in the kitchen, rubbing her arms as though cold. "Could you testify that yes, the texts looked bad, but you never truly saw us do anything physically compromising at school?" she asked in a quiet tone. "I know it's a lot to ask, but it might save my job." Jalen clenched his jaw. "Do you honestly want me to lie to protect you and Todd after everything you did to me? Our daughter is traumatized. She drew you hugging him repeatedly in the teacher's lounge. You want me to minimize that?" She bit her lip, tears forming in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I know it's unfair, but I'm desperate. If I lose this job, I'm done in education. No other district will hire me. I can't imagine not teaching." Her plea tugged at Jalen's heart. He knew how much Kelly had once loved guiding children and planning creative lessons. But he also recalled the heartbreak in discovering her texts, the humiliating confrontation. He answered steadily, "I won't lie. I'll only speak the truth, that you and Todd had an affair that bled into your professional environment, and that our daughter witnessed enough to put it in her drawings." Kelly's shoulders sagged. She let out a shaky sigh, then turned away. They drifted through the evening in near silence. Sunday afternoon, Jalen got a text from Ava, the teacher's aide who had once confessed seeing Kelly and Todd in suspicious after-hours encounters. She wrote, "Hey Jalen, I thought you should know Todd has a new angle. He's claiming Kelly pursued him aggressively, that He tried to resist. I overheard him bragging to another co-worker about having evidence on Kelly. Could be blackmail. Be careful. Jalen grimaced at his phone screen. It seemed Todd was trying to shift blame, possibly to salvage his own position. This angle might play out at the disciplinary hearing, Todd portraying himself as a victim of Kelly's advances. The irony made Jalen's blood boil. Todd was equally complicit, if not more. Jalen quickly texted Ava back, thanking her for the heads-up. He wondered if Kelly knew about Todd's plan to throw her under the bus. When he told Kelly about Ava's warning, she looked distraught. That snake. He told me he loved me, that we were in it together. Now he wants to paint me as some seductress who lured him into misconduct? What did you expect? Jalen asked coldly. He's trying to save himself. Kelly buried her face in her hands, cursing herself for ever letting Todd into her life. This is going to be a nightmare. As Monday dawned, another unexpected piece of news arrived. Max, Jalen's old friend with connections in the district, discovered that Samson Todd had faced a complaint at a previous school for inappropriate behavior, excessive familiarity, with a staff member there, too. It never escalated to formal charges, but the rumor was that Todd left that school abruptly. Max texted Jalen, "If the board hears about Todd's old record, it might weigh heavily against him, potentially helping Kelly's case if she frames him as the instigator. But obviously, that's complicated given your family situation." Jalen mulled this over. If Todd truly had a pattern of starting flings, it bolstered the notion that he might be the driving force. But Kelly wasn't entirely innocent. However, if Todd was trying to place sole blame on Kelly, perhaps revealing his past would be critical in ensuring he didn't escape unscathed. Jalen considered passing this info to the disciplinary panel. Monday morning arrived with a tense hush that enveloped the district office. A small hearing room was set up with a long table, some chairs, and a panel of 3 administrators from the district. At the front sat Principal Louisa, looking uncomfortable but composed, prepared to discuss her perspective. Kelly and Todd, each accompanied by a union rep, wore expressions of anxiety. Jalen was also invited, as the parent who brought forth the complaint and the primary witness. The teacher's aide, Ava, was on standby if called to testify. The head of the panel, Ms. Addison, a stern-faced woman with sharp eyes, opened the hearing. She explained that they would address allegations of unprofessional conduct, specifically whether Kelly and Todd's relationship interfered with their roles as teachers and possibly created an inappropriate environment on campus. Todd's turn came first. He recounted how he and Kelly began as just colleagues, describing occasional lunches and after-school planning sessions. He admitted that feelings developed, but insisted Kelly was the aggressor. "She told me her marriage was basically over," he claimed. "I was lonely. I regret letting it go further, but it wasn't all me." His union rep nodded vigorously, emphasizing Todd never engaged in physical relations on campus, only some hugging or mild affection. Todd also alleged Kelly occasionally used Chloe, her own daughter, as a buffer or excuse to linger in the teacher's lounge, insinuating it was partly Kelly's plan to keep Todd around. Kelly's face reddened with anger as she listened, biting her lip to keep from shouting. Her own union rep whispered for her to remain calm until her turn. Then came Kelly's statement. Eyes glistening, she acknowledged emotional closeness with Todd, but insisted it was mutual. "He frequently texted me romantic, intimate messages," she pointed out, referencing the screenshots Jalen had shown. "I never forced him to do anything. If anything, Todd was the one who constantly wanted to meet in the lounge. He said it excited him." She paused, swallowing hard. "I'm deeply sorry our personal issues spilled into the school environment. It was never my intention to harm any child, especially my own daughter." The panel jotted notes. They asked if there had been explicit physical acts on campus. Kelly insisted, "No actual sexual activity, just kisses and hugs." Todd nodded weakly, confirming that. But Principal Louisa raised a concern about multiple staff members observing them behind locked classroom doors after hours, strongly suggesting more than just casual hugs. Todd and Kelly both vehemently denied any sexual encounters, yet their credibility was shaky. Next, the panel turned to the evidence that initiated the complaint: Chloe's drawings. Jalen sat forward, carefully laying out each drawing on the table. The pastel colors, the childlike scrawls of "Mommy likes hugging him a lot" and "Mr. Todd loves my mommy" were heartbreakingly vivid. He explained, voice strained with emotion, how Chloe innocently depicted scenes from the teacher's lounge. "My daughter is 6, he said quietly. "She's not crafting elaborate lies. She's drawing what she sees." Kelly stared at her own folded hands, blinking back tears. Todd shifted uncomfortably. Ms. Addison studied the drawings for a good while, then asked, "Mr. Jalen, do you believe these illustrate a level of intimacy that goes beyond mere friendly hugs?" He nodded. "Absolutely. My daughter even wrote that her mom likes Mr. Todd more than Mr. J, referencing me. That's not random scribble. She overheard something. If these were purely professional interactions, why would my child depict them in such an emotional way?" Todd tried to interject. "Kids misunderstand words. They make up stories from small glimpses." But Addison looked unmoved. As the panel deliberated over the evidence, Jalen decided to drop the information Max had shared: Todd's rumored prior complaint at another school. He spoke up. "I also learned from a reliable source that Mr. Todd faced concerns at a previous school for crossing professional boundaries. He left abruptly after that. It shows a pattern, not an isolated mistake." Todd's eyes widened in alarm. "That's hearsay. I left for a better opportunity," he sputtered, denying any wrongdoing in his past job. However, Ms. Addison took note. She said the district could request Todd's employment records. Todd's union rep looked uneasy, aware this could be a damaging turn. Kelly shot Todd a furious glance. Clearly, she hadn't known about his prior misconduct rumor. The betrayal deepened. Todd's innocence claim seemed shakier than ever. The panel allowed Jalen some concluding remarks as the father who initially raised the complaint. He began calmly. "This isn't about punishing teachers for personal choices, but Ms. Kelly Johnson is my wife. She used her position in the teacher's lounge to conduct an affair that confused our daughter. Mr. Todd also engaged knowingly. The evidence speaks for itself. I'm not asking for vengeance. I'm asking the district to recognize the breach of trust and the emotional harm inflicted on Chloe, and to ensure it doesn't happen again." He paused, glancing briefly at Kelly. A flicker of sadness crossed his features. Then he turned away. "All I want is for my daughter to have a learning environment free from secrecy or scandal. If the people entrusted with her education are entangled in a personal affair that leaks into the classroom, that's a problem." The hush in the room felt profound. The panel nodded gravely. Ms. Addison closed the session, stating they'd deliberate and notify them within a few days about the disciplinary actions. Kelly's union rep whispered hurried instructions to her, while Todd's rep scolded him in hushed tones for not disclosing his rumored prior complaint. The tension in the air was palpable, a sense that careers hung in the balance. Jalen walked out, shoulders tight, feeling an odd mixture of vindication, sorrow, and anticipation for the final verdict. After the hearing, they waited anxiously for the panel's decision. The days felt excruciatingly long. Kelly retreated into a shell of anxiety, rarely leaving the house except for errands. Todd was nowhere to be seen. Jalen tried to maintain normalcy for Chloe, taking her to the park or to a friend's birthday party, all while his mind roiled with uncertainty about the future of their marriage. One evening, Jalen noticed Kelly rummaging in the garage, sorting through old boxes. She seemed frantic, scattering papers. He approached cautiously. "What are you looking for?" he asked. She glanced up, startled. "Nothing. Just some old teaching certificates, references. If I get fired, I might apply to private schools or something." She sounded defeated, eyes red from crying. Jalen folded his arms. "That might be a possibility, but private schools usually do thorough background checks, especially if news about this scandal gets around." She lowered her head. "I know." Her voice was a whisper. "I just don't know what else to do." They stood in silence, the weight of her possible unemployment looming. Jalen felt a pang of guilt. This was the mother of his child, after all. But then he remembered her betrayal, the texts, the heartbreak. He steeled himself. "We'll figure something out," he managed, trying to remain civil. Meanwhile, Chloe began showing signs of emotional strain. She asked repeatedly, "Why doesn't Mommy go to work anymore?" Or, "Is Mr. Todd sick?" She seemed to sense the tension and grew more clingy, sometimes refusing to sleep in her own bed. At bedtime, she'd whisper, "Daddy, if Mommy's sad, can I cheer her up with my drawings?" Jalen's heart twisted at the irony Chloe's drawings had exposed the affair, and now she wanted to use new ones to comfort her mom. He told her gently that Mommy just needed time and love, and that Chloe should keep making her art because it was beautiful. In the quiet darkness, Jalen resolved to protect Chloe from further trauma, even if it meant finalizing a painful decision about the marriage soon. Midweek, Jalen's phone buzzed at 11 p.m. The caller ID showed an unknown number. He answered groggily. It was Todd, his voice shaky. "Please, Jalen, I need to talk." Jalen rubbed his eyes. "It's late. What do you want?" Todd exhaled a ragged breath. "I'm hearing rumors the district found out about my prior complaint. They might push for immediate termination. Kelly might only get a suspension or a forced transfer. I'm the bigger scapegoat." Jalen clenched his teeth. "Why call me?" I just want you to know, if I lose my job, I won't fight it anymore. I'll walk away from Kelly, from everything. Just could you not smear my name further? I have to find work somewhere else. Maybe a different state." Jalen frowned. "So, you're asking me to spare you from further damage? After you tried to blame Kelly?" Todd's voice cracked. "Look, I'm no saint. I deserve punishment, but I never wanted all this. If you don't escalate it publicly, maybe I can get a reference or at least not be blacklisted." A surge of anger coursed through Jalen. "You're worried about references. You tore my family apart, Todd. You caused my daughter confusion, and you pinned half the blame on Kelly. Don't expect me to rescue you." He hung up, heart pounding. Todd's desperation was a testament to the severity of the impending fallout. Jalen realized the verdict was near, and Todd expected the worst. Maybe Kelly, ironically, would get a lighter consequence if Todd's prior record weighed more heavily. In the midst of these storms, Jalen also began to worry about custody of Chloe if he and Kelly split. He wasn't sure if Kelly's potential job loss and affair scandal would impact custody arrangements. He consulted a family lawyer briefly, who explained that unless Kelly was deemed an unfit parent, the affair alone wouldn't necessarily affect her parental rights. Still, the lawyer advised Jalen to document everything to demonstrate that he was the more stable parent if custody disputes arose. One quiet afternoon, Jalen found Kelly staring at Chloe's baby pictures on her phone, tears slipping down her cheeks. She noticed him, quickly wiping her face. She spoke softly. "If we separate, how do we even explain it to Chloe?" She adores both of us. This will destroy her sense of safety." Jalen had no immediate answer. Guilt gnawed at him. Chloe was their biggest concern. He wondered if counseling as a family might help, but part of him wasn't sure he could endure weekly sessions with Kelly right now. The emotional wounds were too raw. Friday morning, nearly 3 weeks after the initial bombshell parent-teacher conference, the district finally released the official decisions from the disciplinary hearing. Kelly received a call from Ms. Addison. The verdict: 1. Kelly would be suspended without pay for the remainder of the school year due to unprofessional conduct and misuse of school property, the teacher's lounge, for personal rendezvous. However, she was not immediately terminated. Instead, she would face a mandatory review at the start of the next school year, with additional conditions like a letter of reprimand in her file, counseling on professional boundaries, and possible probation if she returned to teaching. 2. Todd was officially terminated, effective immediately. The panel cited his prior complaint, which indicated a pattern of behavior. His union rep's defense couldn't overcome the combined evidence. He was barred from further employment in the district. Kelly stood in the living room, phone trembling in her hand as she relayed the news to Jalen. "I'm not fired, but suspended. Todd is fired." She sounded both relieved and horrified. "I don't know if I can face the staff again next year or the parents. My reputation is shot." Jalen nodded, absorbing it. A part of him felt grim satisfaction that Todd was out of the picture, but he also saw Kelly's heartbreak. She had loved teaching. Now she was publicly branded as someone who fraternized with a colleague on campus. Even if she weren't fully dismissed, her career was tarnished. Consequences had indeed arrived, just as Jalen's initial plan predicted. News spread fast. By midday, social media buzz among local teaching circles mentioned Todd's termination. Rumors flew about him possibly leaving town to avoid further humiliation. A friend forwarded Jalen a screenshot of Todd's silent LinkedIn profile updates, removing references to the school. He had vanished from staff directories overnight. Todd texted Kelly a curt goodbye. "I'm sorry, didn't expect it to end this way. Good luck." Kelly read it, tears in her eyes, then deleted it without replying. That evening, Kelly retreated to the bedroom for hours. Jalen found her packing a small suitcase. "I might stay with my sister Louisa for a bit," she said, quietly. This, Louisa, was her sister. Not the principal, just an unfortunate name overlap. "I need space. I can't face our neighbors or the pitying looks. I feel too ashamed to be around Chloe, too." She broke down, sobbing. Jalen tried to keep his tone measured. "Chloe loves you. Don't abandon her." Kelly sniffled. "I'm not abandoning her. For a few days, I need to clear my head. Then we can figure out next steps if you want a separation or counseling or some arrangement." He gave a short nod. "Okay, take the time you need. I'll handle Chloe." Thus, the immediate fallout was that Kelly effectively fled the home, leaving Jalen and Chloe alone. Chloe noticed her mother's absence. Jalen told her, "Mommy is visiting Aunt Louisa for a while. She's sad about some grown-up problems." Chloe worried, but Jalen reassured her daily via phone calls with Kelly, ensuring they remained connected. 2 days after the official ruling, Jalen received a cryptic email from Todd's personal address, subject line, "One last thing." Inside was a short note. "You think you've won, but I suspect Kelly isn't telling you everything. Our affair started months before you noticed. She told me about your relationship issues, about how you rarely spent time together. If you think it was just a few kisses, you're fooling yourself. Good luck with the illusions." Jalen felt a hot surge of anger, tempered by heartbreak. He realized Todd was likely just trying to cause more pain, but the email reignited doubts. Had Kelly omitted more extensive physical encounters? Was it purely on campus, or did they meet outside, in hotels. He saved the email, uncertain whether to confront Kelly with it. The damage was done no sense in stoking more drama. If Todd's words were true, it only solidified the betrayal. If they were lies, it was a final attempt at sabotage. Either way, Jalen felt sick reading it. Despite the household upheaval, Chloe remained resilient on the surface. She asked about Mommy, missed her bedtime stories, but Jalen tried to maintain routine: dinner, bath time, and a story each night. Occasionally, Chloe grew quiet, as though sensing tension. When Kelly called, Chloe brightened momentarily. After the call ended, she'd ask Jalen, "When's Mommy coming back?" He had no perfect answer. "Soon, sweet pea. She just needs some grown-up time. It's not your fault." He prayed that was enough reassurance for a child so young. Weeks passed since Kelly's suspension was finalized. She stayed with her sister Louisa, occasionally texting Jalen about practical matters bills, pickup times for Chloe, the possibility of therapy. Meanwhile, Jalen juggled single parenthood, making sure Chloe's daily life remained stable. One evening, Jalen had a lengthy conversation with his lawyer about the pros and cons of filing for divorce. The lawyer explained that Kelly's affair wouldn't automatically strip her of custody rights unless child neglect or other factors came into play. Chloe would likely end up in a shared custody arrangement if Jalen pursued it. Financially, Kelly was without a job for the rest of the school year, so spousal support or child support considerations could get messy. The lawyer also noted that if Jalen filed first, he could set certain terms, but the lawyer recommended if Jalen still had any inclination to salvage the marriage, he might try mediation or counseling first. Jalen was torn. Part of him felt done. He hated the lies, the betrayal, the heartbreak. Yet there remained a sliver of love or nostalgia for the life they'd built. Chloe's stability also weighed heavily. Could a broken marriage be mended enough for them to function? Kelly reached out, suggesting they meet a marriage counselor named Dr. Sampson, an unfortunate name coincidence with Todd's first name, so let's call him Dr. S. She insisted it was purely to discuss co-parenting, even if the marriage couldn't be saved. Jalen agreed to attend at least one session. During the session, Dr. S guided them to express their feelings. Kelly sobbed, saying she felt lonely in the marriage, overwhelmed by teacher stress, and Todd became a confidant, who then turned into more. She apologized profusely, but insisted she never meant it to break the family. Jalen recounted discovering Chloe's drawings, reading text messages, the humiliation at the parent-teacher ambush. He admitted feeling a mixture of anger and sadness, and how trust seemed irreparable. Dr. S offered gentle reflections. Infidelity often stems from unaddressed emotional needs. That doesn't excuse it. But if you both desire to rebuild, it requires total honesty, open communication, and a strong willingness to make amends. Jalen felt ambivalent. Could he ever trust Kelly again after seeing the extent of her deception? Kelly insisted she was committed to changing, to cutting Todd out of her life forever, to giving Jalen full access to her phone and schedule as proof of her sincerity. But was that enough? Shortly after the therapy session, Jalen stumbled upon a curious bank statement in Kelly's name, showing a small account he hadn't known about. The transactions included restaurants, hotel charges in a neighboring town months ago, coinciding with days Kelly claimed to be at teacher conferences. Possibly more evidence that the affair was deeper than she'd admitted. Furious, Jalen confronted her via phone. "You said Todd was just an emotional fling mostly on campus. These hotel charges suggest otherwise," Kelly cried. "I swear! It was maybe once or twice we met outside to talk. We never okay. We might have gotten physical, but I was too ashamed to tell you. It was wrong. I'm sorry." This new admission hammered Jalen's final illusions. The affair had been more than stolen kisses. She'd hidden a bank account to conceal the expenses, another blow to any hope of trust. Jalen left the phone call feeling he was sliding toward a decision. Perhaps divorce was inevitable. Amid this chaos, Chloe had a small end-of-fire recital for her arts program. She was set to sing a short song with her classmates. Jalen worried that Kelly, still suspended, might not be welcomed by the school. But Chloe desperately wanted her mother there. After some negotiation, Principal Louisa granted Kelly permission to attend as a parent, not a teacher, on the condition she avoided staff areas. Kelly agreed. On recital night, she arrived, quietly standing in the back of the gymnasium, away from the teachers. Todd, obviously, was gone. Jalen stood on the opposite side, feeling the gulf between them. Watching Chloe sing her little heart out, bright-eyed under stage lights, Jalen felt tears stinging his eyes. This was their sweet, innocent child, caught in adult turmoil. Once the performance ended, Chloe ran to hug both parents simultaneously, forcing them to stand together. For a moment, they locked eyes. The tension dimmed briefly. Kelly whispered, "She's amazing," and Jalen nodded. But the warmth was fleeting, overshadowed by the reality of their fractured relationship. After the recital, Kelly walked with Jalen to the parking lot, each holding one of Chloe's hands. Chloe chattered happily about the show. Once they reached Jalen's car, Kelly asked in a low voice, "Can we talk alone for a second?" Chloe climbed into the back seat, busying herself with a coloring book. Kelly turned to Jalen, voice trembling. "I know I have no right to ask for a second chance, but I'm begging you for us to try counseling again, consistent sessions before giving up. For Chloe's sake, if nothing else. If it fails, I won't fight you on divorce or custody. Just please." Jalen stared at her, raw pain in his eyes. He remembered the phone call about the secret hotel charges, the heartbreak, Todd's email. Every fiber of him wanted to say it was too late. But then he glanced at Chloe in the car, doodling away, humming a song from the recital. The child still yearned for a united family. He inhaled slowly. "All right, one more shot at counseling. But I'm not promising forgiveness. We'll see." Kelly exhaled shakily, relief mingling with apprehension. They parted ways. Jalen drove home with Chloe, uncertain but determined to follow through with at least a few more counseling sessions. Whether that led to healing or a final farewell was unclear. But for now, he placed Chloe's well-being above his own bitterness. The weeks that followed marked a period of intense therapy sessions. Jalen and Kelly attended weekly counseling with Dr. S., delving into their communication patterns, resentments, and underlying issues. It was a roller coaster. One session ended with Kelly in tears, storming out. Another session ended with Jalen locking himself in the car, refusing to speak. Yet slowly, they confronted the raw truths behind the affair. Kelly acknowledged she'd been restless, felt neglected. She admitted to crossing boundaries with Todd far earlier and more deeply than she initially confessed. She apologized profusely, offering full transparency of phone records and accounts. Jalen expressed the extent of his betrayal, the anger at seeing Chloe used as an unintentional witness. He also realized he'd become absorbed in his architecture career, sometimes taking Kelly's support for granted. He recognized that while her actions were inexcusable, the marital environment hadn't been healthy either. By the fourth or fifth therapy session, a new dynamic emerged. They began speaking more civilly at home. Chloe noticed Mommy visiting more, sometimes spending weekends. No grand romantic gestures occurred, but the hostility softened. Kelly's remorse and willingness to rebuild trust became more consistent. Jalen allowed a faint hope that maybe they could stabilize for Chloe's sake. He told Kelly he wasn't sure he could fully forgive her or forget, but he recognized, for the child's well-being, an amicable coexistence might be possible. Whether that blossomed into real reconciliation or ended in a more peaceful separation remained to be seen. Summer arrived, meaning Kelly's suspension effectively covered the end of the academic year. The district eventually offered her a chance to reapply for her position next fall, with conditions: a probationary period, mandatory counseling, and a formal letter of reprimand in her file. Kelly expressed mixed feelings. Part of her wanted a fresh start at a different school to escape the gossip. Another part felt compelled to atone and face the consequences in her own community. Todd was gone from the district entirely, rumored to have moved out of state. Some staff speculated he might try to land a private tutoring gig or something unrelated to teaching. Ava, the teacher's aide, reported that the overall staff mood was relieved by his departure. Principal Louisa discreetly told Jalen she hoped Kelly would learn from this and eventually rebuild her reputation. Louisa also confirmed Chloe could remain in the school, unaffected by the scandal. Jalen was grateful for that. Finally, at the urging of Dr. S., Jalen and Kelly arranged a family summit to discuss next steps, with Chloe present for part of it, though not the raw adult details. They sat in the living room one Saturday morning. Kelly gently explained to Chloe that Mommy made some mistakes at school, so I was away for a while, but Mommy and Daddy are working to make sure we're all okay. She emphasized that none of it was Chloe's fault, and that they both loved her dearly. Chloe asked if Mr. Todd will come back. Kelly shook her head, smiling sadly. No, sweetie, he won't. He's gone, and that's better for all of us. Mommy's focusing on being with you and Daddy now. Then Dr. S. guided them to share any final thoughts or questions. Chloe mostly expressed relief that Mommy wasn't disappearing again. Afterwards, Dr. S. sent Chloe to another room with coloring books so the adults could finalize bigger decisions. Jalen cleared his throat, addressing Kelly. I'm still hurt. I can't promise I'll ever see you the same, but I appreciate the effort you've made to come clean. We have Chloe to think about. He paused, taking a breath. I'm willing to keep trying for a while. If it doesn't work, we'll proceed with a calm, structured separation. Either way, let's keep the environment stable for Chloe. Agreed? Tears brimmed in Kelly's eyes. She nodded fervently. Agreed. I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild trust, or if we can't, I'll accept it gracefully. Dr. S. smiled softly. That's an adult-reasoned approach. I encourage you both to keep attending therapy. Healing from betrayal is a long process, but you're already making progress. As the session ended, Jalen felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. The marriage they once had was gone, eroded by secrets, but perhaps a new version could emerge, built on painful honesty. Alternatively, they might find themselves unable to rekindle love, parting on more peaceful terms than a bitter divorce. In either scenario, Jalen took comfort in the fact that Chloe's immediate world would remain stable, free of the day-to-day conflict that once simmered in the household. That evening, Kelly returned for dinner. She cooked spaghetti, one of Chloe's favorites. The three of them ate at the dining table, not quite laughing as in the old days, but not drowning in tension either. Chloe showed off her latest drawing. A bright picture of Mommy, Daddy, and her walking in a park. No mention of Mr. Todd. Jalen felt tears prick his eyes at that, relieved that his child's art now reflected a more hopeful image of family. Once Chloe went to bed, Jalen and Kelly tidied up in the kitchen. Over the hum of the dishwasher, Kelly quietly said, I meant what I said. I'm so sorry. I know it's not enough, but I'm trying. Jalen nodded. I know. Let's take it one day at a time. They didn't embrace. They didn't kiss. But they stood side by side, rinsing dishes in a sort of cautious truce. Epilogue. Note: time would tell if their therapy sessions and renewed sense of honesty could truly mend the wounds, or if they would peacefully part ways, co-parenting Chloe with mutual respect. The affair with Todd would forever remain a scar in their history, one that forced them to confront buried marital issues. The school community had witnessed a small scandal, but it receded as new academic years and new dramas overshadowed it. In the end, what truly mattered was that Chloe found stability again. She was a bright, resilient child. Her drawings gradually shifted from depicting heartbreak to capturing everyday family life, a testament to her own healing process. One day, maybe she'd fully forget that time she drew Mommy hugging Mr. Todd in the teacher's lounge. Maybe it would fade from her memory. But for Jalen and Kelly, it was a turning point in their lives, shaping the future of their marriage, whether together or apart. In the months ahead, they would continue to live in a gray area, not fully reunited, not fully separated. Each day brought small tests of trust, incremental conversations, and occasional flashes of warmth reminiscent of their early love. Some nights ended in tears, others in quiet companionship. The concluding chapter of their relationship remained unwritten, carried forward by the complicated, hopeful, and sometimes heartbreaking reality of human bonds. In that sense, the story didn't end with a neat bow, but with a cautious, evolving new beginning, or the seeds of an eventual farewell. Either way, the greatest victory lay in ensuring Chloe's innocence and well-being were preserved as best as possible, letting her continue to see her parents united in at least one commitment: their love for her.